think I'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the scoping meeting for the City of Downey for our general plan zone map update. I'm going to go ahead with introductions. My name is Swati Meshram. I'm the Deputy Director of Community Development Planning at the City of Downey. I am accompanied here with another member of my staff, Abraham Luna, who's our senior planner, and our consultants who are conducting this project for us from NIG. They're also the people who are going to be making the presentation today. If I can introduce Jose Rodriguez, he's the project manager and who will be starting the presentation, followed by Camden. So with that, I will hand it over to Jose.
Great. Thank you, Swati. As Swati said, my name is Jose Rodriguez. I'm a senior project manager with MIG, and I'm with my colleague, Cameron Heil, and we're going to provide an overview and go through the scoping meeting with you. We'll start with the agenda. The purpose of this meeting, provide an update and kind of a background on the general plan update that the city is going through. Under the EIR, there's a project description, and we'll walk through what the project description is. And then Cameron's going to give a presentation on the CEQA component, particularly the process overview, and then we'll open it up for any public comments. And if there's any questions from the public, feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat. All right, so let's start with the meeting purpose. Why are we meeting? First, this is a scoping meeting, and it's part of the California Environmental Quality Act. And it's an environmental review law. So for the general plan update, most comprehensive general plan updates require what's called an environmental impact report. So it's a detailed CEQA document that reviews the environmental impacts, and we want to disclose those for the public. It also identifies mitigation measures and alternatives to the project, meaning if there's an alternative that can reduce or have a less impact to the environment, that is analyzed as part of the EIR. And really the purpose of the EIR is really to help decision makers kind of weigh the benefits and impacts of the project. The purpose of this meeting is really to define the scope and content of the draft EIR. We're looking for public input, both by surrounding jurisdictions as well as the community. And we want to help identify the environmental issues and what topics to analyze. And for the different agencies that are joining, we want to provide a public, an overview of the general plan and zoning amendment that Downey is undergoing. And then we just want public input, any feedback that you want to have, particularly as a adjoining or nearby jurisdiction. What should the EIR study and evaluate? So let's move on to the general plan update. I want to provide a background of the project. Before we get into the details, this is our overall schedule for the general plan update. We started a little over a year ago, where we analyzed constraints and opportunities, existing conditions. We looked at housing opportunity sites and areas for potential change. Last summer, we did community engagement and outreach. We looked at different transportation and land use options, as well as develop our guiding principles and vision for the general plan. Over the winter, which started last year, we started preparing the document, the draft general plan. We've also started preparing the EIR. And as we moved towards the summer, we're going to provide public review of the document. And then later this fall, primarily the fall, we'll be looking at adopting the general plan for the Planning Commission and City Council and finalize the documents. As you know, Downey is located in Los Angeles County. I think we have someone from Norwalk, which is a nearby city. But we're in the central part of Los Angeles County along the 5 freeway, 605, 710, and the 105 freeways. The planning area includes all of the city incorporated area. There are no sphere of influences in the city of Downey, so we're looking at only the incorporated areas of the entire city. This is the current general plan that's on the books, that's currently adopted. This is one part that we're updating as part of the general plan, but keep in mind, we're updating the entire, we're doing a comprehensive general plan update. As part of our analysis, particularly for the environmental impact report, we do look at existing land use to create the baseline for population, for the number of housing units, building square footage, and employment. So we've done this analysis recently to create that baseline number. What are the existing land uses that are on the ground today? For the project description, as I mentioned, we're doing an entire general plan comprehensive update, except for the housing element. The housing element is not being updated as it was updated several years ago per state law. But we're looking at all of the other elements as part of the general plan. And there are two optional elements that are not required by state law, but are still important for the city of Downey as economic development and design. Um, and a new element that's being added to the general plan is environmental justice element. So that'll be a new element for the city. The general plan guiding principles that we've identified through community input. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm going to kind of say some of the key words is preserving neighborhood character, strengthening the local economy, expanding parks and community services, improving walkability and transportation safety, addressing environmental health, beautifying the city through urban design improvements, supporting families, youth, and education, healthy living, and expanding community engagement. These are the key guiding principles that guide goals and policies and programs for the general plan. This next map is our proposed general plan land use map. This is within the land use element. This is what's guiding growth over the next 20 years, and this is updated based off of the current general plan. There are new overlays that we're integrating. There were several overlays that were adopted over a year ago as part of the zoning code update in response to the housing element. Um, the housing man identified new areas to increase housing per the regional housing needs assessment. That was adopted a year ago, but we're integrating that from the zoning code into the general plan land use. And a lot of the key major changes to the general plan is also making sure that it's consistent with the zoning map so that there is consistency between the two documents and two maps. For the overall general plan build out, we're looking at almost 30% increase in dwelling units and population. A lot of this may seem significant, but a large portion of it is in response to the housing element as well as housing demand, and looking at future housing opportunities for potential next rounds of housing element updates. But there's also significant demands for accessory dwelling units and multifamily, and addressing a lot of the new state laws and increasing housing supply. For non-commercial, the build out is moderate. We have 9% build out in building square footage and potentially 15% increase in employment opportunities. In addition to the general plan, we're also looking to make consistency changes to the zoning map. Again, the key thing here is making sure that the zoning map is consistent with the general plan and addressing any inconsistencies, as well as looking at those additional housing opportunities that we made changes into the general plan. So with that, now I'm going to turn it over to Cameron to talk about the EIR and as part of the CEQA process. Cameron?
Thanks, Jose. My name's Cameron Heil again. I'm project manager in charge of the environmental for the general plan update. This slide is a overview of the CEQA process as it's been undergone. We are currently in the scoping meeting and preparation of the draft EIR phase, and we are hoping to have the document ready for public review this summer and to go to hearings in the fall or winter. Next slide, thank you. These are the topics that are required to be addressed by CEQA in the EIR. There are 20 resources that we analyze and upwards of 100 questions that we answer pertaining to these resources. Next slide. Other chapters of the EIR will include cumulative impacts, growth-inducing impacts, significant adverse unavoidable impacts, alternatives to the general plan update, and any irreversible long-term environmental changes. Next slide. We're currently in the notice of preparation stage, which is 30-day review period. That is coming to a completion on April 13th. And any written comments can be sent to Swati or emailed to actually, yeah, through the city's website, the general plan website. And with that said, we will now open up for public comments, if any.
Christy, you're the only person from a surrounding jurisdiction. We'll just open it up to you if you have any questions or comments. And you can also place them on the chat, but you're welcome to unmute yourself if you can and let us know if you have any questions.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. We did review certain elements of the general plan that you guys have submitted. We did have questions in terms of the environmental justice, land use, and housing element. Are there adequate facilities to address folks who are unhoused? Just because I know that in the environmental justice portion, right, and even in the housing element and land use portion, there are topics of, increasing housing and all those residential overlay. However, I think our concern is mainly with the facilities for the unhoused, so that it doesn't overspill into like Norwalk. So I think that's something that we do have questions about. Is there an adequate, um, like in terms of, like is there adequate facilities to accommodate for those?
Um, Christy, thank you for the question, and of course, our consultants can supplement my response. Um, we do have, we are working on the draft elements. Those elements have not been published yet for public review. The purpose of this, of course, is to get questions from the audience at this point. But Jose and Cameron, if you had anything else to add.
No, we did update the zoning code about a year ago to ensure that as part of certain zones that allow different types of homeless shelters or navigation centers that are allowed through certain zones. So that's been updated as part of the zoning code amendment over a year ago. The other thing is that we're also increasing housing supply, both through the zoning code amendment that was done a year ago in response to the housing element, but also an additional uh, number of housing as part of the general plan update. We're looking at almost 10,000 new housing units. And again, these are housing units that the city is accommodating through zoning and land use, but it would be the responsibility of property owners and to help to build the housing based off the general plan and the zoning. So the city has created opportunities for additional housing and has looked at ways to provide house opportunities for housing for those then. So for those that are unhoused, whether there's specific projects, I don't think at the moment there are, unless city staff, if you're familiar. No, there. Yeah, it looks like there isn't current any homeless type shelters at the moment. So with that would be my response. If there's staff, if there's anything else you want to add, please.
I just wanted to, I guess, focus the discussion on the upcoming draft elements that would be made public, made available for public review. Those are not available now. I think the purpose is, of course, to solicit your input and your questions.
And if anything needs to be covered in the EIR as well. I'm not sure. Obviously, the homeless spillover issue is important, but it's not necessarily something that's covered in the CEQA. But if there is something related to the EIR, we're happy to solicit input on that as well.
I think a second I think we will want to see more assessment is the traffic and design issues as it relates to the border. I know like City of Downey, like there's a lot of overlaps in terms of corridors and a lot of the main streets. So we do want to see more of that traffic and design traffic impacts. And if there's any mitigation measures that you guys are proposing around the boundaries of Downey and Norwalk.
Okay.
And that comment will be noted, Christy. Yes, the full EIR does have a transportation and component in the EIR, and there will be a completely revised circulation element that looks at transportation throughout the city.
I do have a final question. Is this PowerPoint and also just the information, would it be published online or would it be shared?
We can make this, Swati, we'll definitely make this PowerPoint available. There is a general plan update web page under the City of Downey's website. And so we'll make sure we include this scoping meeting presentation. And there's also additional information on that website as well.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
And if there isn't any other questions, I think, Swati, I think that might conclude our presentation because there are no other persons in the meeting.
Questions. Yes, that sounds great. Thank you, Christy, for your for attending the scoping meeting today and also for your comments.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.